There's a rumor going around. If you like this video and subscribe, you will be enlisted into the Frieza Force. Hi guys, this is the next part of What If Broly Was Reincarnated in the World of Naruto. I hope you enjoy. In the Forest of Death, the female grass nin is apparently outraged by the Jinchuriki's constant interference. She has decided to finally give him the attention he wanted. She captured the boy with her unnaturally length tongue and created purple fires that lit up on her fingers and slammed them into Naruto's seal on his stomach. Naruto was quickly discarded by the strange grass nin and thrown away at a nearby tree. Naruto promptly started to fall from the tree top. That was until Sakura, in concern, threw a kunai that pierced through his jacket. The lucky kunai rooted Naruto to a tree and prevented him from falling as he was unconscious from the vicious strange purple flamed attack. Sasuke, after having a wake-up call from Sakura for acting pathetic, quickly began to attack the unbelievable strong female nin. After his brutal comeback attack, the female grass nin revealed that she wasn't injured at all and that she was actually named Orochimaru, the missing nin that was forced out of the village for his cruel inhumane experiments on fellow shinobi and enemy shinobi. Broly's eyes raised at this information. Esumi's lifelong goal was to get rid of this man, one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha. It wouldn't hurt to get a better look at his techniques, Broly thought with a grin before rushing in towards Team 7. Unfortunately for the legendary Super Saiyan, it seems Orochimaru decided to attack Sasuke with a super fast attack that lengthened his neck and rushed towards his opponent. Broly caught Orochimaru's neck. He slowly started to wring the snake user's neck. But suddenly Orochimaru's neck grew even longer to continue towards Sasuke as he looked on at shock at Broly appearing to save him. Broly pulled Orochimaru's neck towards him with great force, resulting in Orochimaru once again failing to bite Sasuke. This caused the snake Sannin to become angered immensely. "How dare you get in my way?" Orochimaru hissed. "You have a debt to pay with my family," Broly said. "You're the boy with an unknown Kekkei Genkai, aren't you?" Orochimaru suddenly realized. "Why don't you come and find out, Snake?" Broly baited. Orochimaru suddenly appeared next to Broly and kicked at his face. The force behind the kick caused the wind to burst behind it. Broly coated his hand in chakra to prepare for the incoming kick. He blocked the attack and swiftly retaliated by kneeing the snake user in the gut. He soon started to turn into mud and sink. Broly recognized this jutsu as being similar to his. He quickly prepared himself for any sudden attacks before having the tree branch under him snap apart from a large purple snake who ate through it. Broly immediately started to make some hand signs and mouth the words, "Wind Style, Gale Palm." His hands took on a coat of wind chakra that he clapped together and blasted himself away, narrowly dodging the incoming purple snake. He then sensed a presence behind him and swayed his head to the side, dodging another close attack by the Sannin. Broly turned around quickly and punched straight towards the snake user's face. Orochimaru had a grin on his face before exploding on the impact of Broly's fist. Mud sprayed all around before trying to reform the head and capturing Broly's arm. To respond to this, Broly blasted a large amount of wind chakra out of his body, getting rid of the mud clone entirely. After that huge display of chakra, Orochimaru showed an interested smirk before appearing behind the tailed boy and kicking him in the back. Broly quickly recovered while in the air and landed gently on the opposite tree from the Sannin. "Try not to die too fast," Broly said before having his hair and tail flare into a bright yellow and having his chakra aura turn green. This caused Sasuke, Sakura, and Orochimaru to look shocked. Orochimaru quickly turned his eyes into that of greed before looking back at Sasuke. It seemed as if he was choosing which present he would like more. While he was distracted, Broly swiftly took advantage of this and punched the snake freak in the face and launching him through 3 trees. Broly's aura surged and rose even higher before rapidly taking off towards the Sannin. Broly appeared over Orochimaru's body with a battle-crazed smile. He grabbed his face and started to drag it through the trees, tearing the tree bark apart. Broly then jumped in the air before smashing down towards the ground with a shouting Orochimaru. Boom, rustle rustle crash. The impact from the slam caused the nearby trees to fall and crash. Broly stood over Orochimaru's crushed body with a victory-filled grin before started to walk away. As he was walking farther and farther away, suddenly he felt 2 sharp objects pierce his neck. Broly fell to one knee while sweating rapidly. His Super Saiyan transformation faded away as Broly looked up at a smirking white-skinned Sannin with absolute rage on his face. His hair flickered between black and yellow. but ultimately couldn't make the transition and only served to drain the legendary Saiyan's energy even more. A black 3-tomo seal appeared on Broly's neck. Broly shouted in anger, slowly causing a purple aura to slowly swirl around him. This purple aura caused the black seal to turn orange-red and spread flame-like marking across half of Broly's body. The legendary Saiyan slowly stood up and looked at Orochimaru with nothing but rage in his eyes. His hair spiked up as if he was in his Super Saiyan state. Yellow electricity flared off of his body and his frame became more muscular. His pupils disappeared before he disappeared in an instant and punched straight through Orochimaru's stomach. Orochimaru smiled before he turned into a pile of mud and attempted to restrain Broly. Broly quickly released himself and blurred towards the Sannin again, who appeared to be playing with a mindless animal. "While I would love to stick around and play boy, I have bigger fish to fry," Orochimaru says before also biting Sasuke with the same thing he gave Aomatsuna and leaving. But before he left he was caught by the throat. "Did you think you could flee so easily, Snake?" A terrifying aura came from the boy, as if he was the devil himself. Orochimaru was terrified by the killing intent this boy sent. He felt as if he was being stared down by a being who has killed far more than he ever had. This momentary fright suffered by Orochimaru enabled him to be hit by Aomatsuna's jutsu. Broly created 3 clones, 1 wind clone, 1 lightning clone, and 1 earth clone. They each grabbed a part of Orochimaru before trapping him inside a sphere mixed with lightning chakra and sharp wind chakra on the inside. The sharp wind chakra and lightning chakra were constantly swirling and shifting, shocking and cutting Orochimaru multiple times, causing him to yell in anguish. Broly's earth clone caused the sphere's outer layer to be formed of earth with the strength of steel. The original Broly held the sphere in the air and his strange green aura started to cover it. The ball soon became inescapable and unbreakable for the person trapped inside. Broly gripped the green sphere hard before launching it at his 3 clones who appeared far ahead of Broly. "Eraser cannon," he shouted. Each clone started to weave through different hand seals simultaneously before activating 3 different elemental jutsus. The lightning clone shouted, "Lightning style, lightning eraser cannon." The earth clone shouted, "Earth style, Omega spike." The wind clone shouted, "Wind style, gigantic tearing tempest." The lightning clone's large electrical energy shell arched towards the speeding ball. The earth clone's humongous sharp earth spike barreled towards the sphere. The wind clone's horizontal colossal cyclone tunneled towards the multi-elemental orb. It seemed as if the entire forest was exploding with energy at the sheer force and aura these attacks were giving off. The immense trees started to be uprooted, burnt, blown away, and shredded as the attacks started to get closer and closer. Until eventually, boom, the entire forest of death felt the backlash of the collision. A field of dust and earth erupted from the ground. Sasuke and Sakura were blown away and knocked unconscious, causing the entire Team 7 to be knocked out. After several seconds passed by, Broly fell to his knees and stared at his destruction, before noticing Orochimaru's destroyed body twitch. The mouth of Orochimaru's body suddenly was opened and stretched to an unimaginable degree before another Orochimaru, who was perfectly fine, stepped out covered in green goo. He looked towards Broly's direction before smirking and disappearing. Broly was about to fall over in blackout, but before that he heard strange whisperings in his head. "Join me, join me, join me, join me." The strange snake-like voice whispered with hissing. Broly gripped his head in pain. His green aura and purple aura were both swirling around his body. Fierce winds were being produced as the auras began to increase in strength. "Get out of my head. I am a Saiyan. I won't dare allow myself to be controlled by a weakling like you," Broly shouted before his muscle mass increased drastically. His body grew to over 9 feet tall. His muscles grew up to twice their previous size. His irises and pupils disappeared entirely. His hair was switching between his normal black hair and a strange light green color. The cursed seal Orochimaru planted on him turned orange-red and covered his entire body in the markings. It was as if the cursed seal was trying to override Broly's resistance and made sure that no amount of resisting will save Broly from its power and influence. Broly's power increased even further with rage. The area devoid of trees, due to Broly's previous attack, was blasted with the harsh winds from the tailed boy. Team 7 was seen nowhere in sight. The boy's resistance against the cursed seal continued on as his chakra surged higher and higher and the markings covering his body darkened in color. "I am a devil," Broly roared and blasted an enormous gust of wind and chakra from his body. The voice suddenly stopped whispering. The cursed seal markings receded back towards Broly's neck before becoming docile and turning green instead of its previous black color. Broly's green chakra was flaring like flames in his legendary state. I shall destroy everything, Broly shouted while launching a big wave of wind around him. Suddenly a wave of chakra swirled around his brain. His power is still blasting at full force, but his previous destructive nature was halted. He became calmer. Does chakra have some sort of calming affect towards Saiyans? Every time I decided to give in to my instincts, it doesn't blind me anymore. I can think clearly. Broly looked around at the completely devastated area he was in before returning back to his original form. The only difference was the green 3 tomo on his neck, that Broly felt he had complete control over. He surged his chakra through the seal. The cursed seal mark started to spread over Broly's body and increased his chakra level, though that was pretty much pointless with Broly's already huge amount of chakra, and his physical capabilities. Broly felt pain during this process, but with his training it was negligent to him. The chakra boost he gained felt strange. It wasn't an elemental chakra but something else. He decided to ignore it for now and go over it with Jabi later. He dashed away in search of Jabi, so that he could heal him back to his full capabilities, after his fight with a legendary Sannin and an internal struggle between him and the Sannin. With Esumi parried the strange Genin's hammer with her rapier, she named Stabby. For artistic purposes of course. The last Leaf Genin in his squad was terrified at the strength and skill this small ninja could show with such a skinny blade. How could she fight against him with basically a metal twig when he had a metal hammer? He swung an overhead slam towards the small kunoichi. Esumi shook her head as if disappointed in the fellow Leaf Nin choice in attack. She was thinking how to put this kid down in the coolest way possible, while the very slow hammer attack came closer to crashing down on her figure and smashing her into a heap of meat. Her eyes brightened. Esumi twirled as the metal hammer came crashing down next to her, missing entirely. Suddenly yellow electrical sparking flowers appeared behind Esumi as she gracefully pierced towards the Leaf Genin unprotected throat. The poor Genin's life flashed before his eyes as he saw the ecstatic joy on his opponent's face with the cold hard metal twig coming to thrust a tiny fatal hole in his neck. Seconds go by as silence permeates the area. The Leaf Genin was sweating terribly and dropped to his knees while gasping for air. He suddenly heard a loud noise behind him. Ha 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 ha. The look on your face was priceless. Esumi giggled. You went all. So this is how it all ends, huh? Before I even took a step towards the step of true shinobi-hood. Esumi mimicked in the perfect voice of her opponent. The said opponent however was still in shock. Esumi looked over to see his response and looked at him in contempt. How sad. One little mock life and death battle and you're already done as a ninja. What a waste of time. But this little hammer of yours does look nice. I'll keep it, Esumi said before stashing the metal hammer in her sheath storage and dashing off to find more genin to play with. After a couple of minutes of searching, Esumi was confused because it seemed as if she was running in circles. She marked a couple of trees with her rapier before continuing on. After a few more minutes she saw the same marks from before. She surged her chakra to look for any foreign chakra. Someone placed a genjutsu on her. Esumi was pissed. She wasn't mad at the fact that she was caught in a genjutsu, but she was mad that Jabi was right about her regularly surging chakra to ward off any genjutsu users. Come out you sneaky bastards. If you show yourselves, I will only kill you a little bit. Esumi shouted to the wind. No response was given. Esumi's face turned into that of an vengeful demon in the body of an adorable 12-year-old. She made some hand signs before having 20 balls of electricity appear around her and start to smash into the surroundings. This caused the unknown enemies to shift into action. Suddenly multiple rain ninjas began to appear from the ground and trees, as if they were ghost and not real bodies. The ninjas were all identical, so Esumi assumed it was one ninja's technique. The rain ninja had spiky brown hair with a black jumpsuit. He wore a rebreather on his mouth and a sash that covered his eyes. Esumi put away her rapier and took out her 2 long blades and started to slice and cut through all the ninjas. Each time Esumi sliced through an enemy, instead of blood or guts falling out, another similar looking clone came out of the wound. She surged through her chakra again and suddenly all the clones disappeared. She quickly found 3 similar looking rain ninjas in trees above her. This caused the 3 shinobi to be surprised and quickly flee in 3 separate directions. Unfortunately for them, Esumi appeared behind all three of them and smashed them in the head with the back of her blade, careening them towards the forest's floor at high speeds. A large amount of dust flew up from the crash of the three rain nin bodies. Esumi dispelled her three clones and looked over the effects of her action as the dust cleared. The three rain ninja were knocked out from the attack. Esumi wasn't quite satisfied due to the annoyance these three brought her. They caused her to be forced to listen to Jabi's advice. And in battle no less. Esumi gathered each similarly outfitted boy and piled them in a stack. She was standing over them with a thinking expression on her face. Should I shock these weaklings or beat them to a pulp with Basher-chan? As Esumi was thinking for a couple of more seconds, her face suddenly brightened and took on a devilish grin. She put away her two long blades and took out her metal pipe-like sword, with no sharpened edges on it at all. She suddenly started surging lightning chakra into it. Basher took on an aura of electricity. Esumi took a slow walk towards her defeated enemies with a bloodthirsty grin on her face. She looked over them before taking a stance. The yells and screams that were made in this part of the forest caused all those entering the area to swiftly retreat. Even the animals and insects quickly ran out of the area to avoid the terrifying aura produced by the creature inside that part of the forest. Sounds, thunder and electricity fizzed within the area, and pounding and smashing sound effects were present in an almost musical manner. And what came from those sounds was a satisfied-looking blue-haired small girl with blood slightly on her outfit and weapon drenched in red. With Jabi, Jabi has found two leaf nin alone. He was particularly interested in these two due to the unusual abilities he has seen them perform. He has been watching these two for quite a while. The first man he was interested in was due to his strange ability to absorb the physical and spiritual energy of an opponent just by touching them. The other one's ability was to stretch and twist any part of his body at any angle, elongating and even coiling around his opponents. Jabi definitely wanted these abilities for him and his friends. The one who was able to absorb chakra wore sunglasses, while the other one had normal see-through glasses. Jabi activated his chakra scalpel technique before suddenly appearing behind the chakra absorber ninja. The stretching ninja noticed Jabi and quickly tried to warn his teammate. But Jabi has already sliced through the shinobi's body. The sunglasses-wearing ninja fell down as if he was a puppet and his strings were cut abruptly. Jabi faced the stretching ninja face to face with a smirk that said he was assured of his win. This caused the stretching ninja to become pissed and shocked. It seems he recognized what Jabi's technique was and was cautious. Instead of trying to get near him, he quickly hopped back and threw kunai at Jabi. Jabi walked towards the ninja in a calm and paced manner while dodging the kunai in a simple manner. The leaf shinobi hopped even further backwards while throwing more sharp tools. Jabi's chakra scalpel wasn't able to stretch or lengthen itself at this point in time, so it was strictly confined to close range. Jabi's previously created clone appeared behind the retreating ninja and grabbed his shoulder. He quickly tried to soften his body and escape, but the clone's hand started to form water that promptly encased him in a water cube. He held his breath and attempted to stretch and twist his way out of the water cube. Jabi's clone watched with a disturbing smile at the futile struggles of the shinobi. Jabi carried the immobilized chakra-stealing shinobi over to the trapped one. He created another water clone and had it stand over the immobilized leaf ninja. Give up, you can't escape my water prison jutsu. Just accept your gracious donation to my knowledge and power. Jabi said before ordering his two clones to pierce a hole through the two ninjas and inserting two tiny clones of himself inside their body to figure out their techniques. He had his clones make sure the two ninjas were unconscious before he inserted the two mini clones inside, so that they wouldn't know about it. Eventually Jabi would receive knowledge on how they perform their abilities through his mini clones. Or he could put them to other uses. He soon healed the two shinobi while checking their body for a scroll. Neither of the two had a scroll, so either they lost theirs or their third member has it. Jabi cursed at his luck once again before leaving them unconscious and fleeing the scene to look for more interesting shinobi in the exams and an elusive earth scroll. Comment review on the story, readers, and give me ideas on possible things you want story-wise, maybe an OC, short-term, or jutsus. No guarantees that I will add what you want. But it helps to have ideas out there. Please point out any mistakes you notice or anything you're not clear about. I'll try to answer them and fix them to the best of my abilities. 3 days later, Broly has finally found Jabi in this enormous forest. He had lost a majority his physical strength somehow after conquering the cursed seal mark, but luckily for him his chakra reserves weren't affected. Even though Broly was physically weakened during those 3 days spent looking for Jabi, his lust for battle never died down. Every enemy team he encountered found this out the hard way. Jabi was surprised that Aomatsuna somehow got himself injured in the first place. He asked him what happened and was shocked. Aomatsuna fought with one of the legendary Sannin and lived to tell the tale. I guess Aomatsuna was lucky he wasn't out for blood, or it could have really been over for him. Even with his friend's unfair Kekkei Genkai, it wouldn't be enough to defeat a Sannin in battle. Jabi thought this due to the many legends surrounding the 3 Sannin in the village scrolls. Jabi activated his water mystical palm jutsu and healed Aomatsuna slowly. Broly felt his strength rushing back into his body at an accelerated pace. He grinned at the return of his power that felt slightly stronger than before. As Jabi was finishing up, Esumi came from above and landed on the branch they were on with slight cuts and bruises on her. "Hey Jabi, I need some tender lovin' and care. Please come and touch me to make me feel better," Esumi said in a seductive teasing voice. Jabi's cheeks took on a red hue before he walked over and also healed his other friend. As he was healing her, she decided it would be funny to moan as he was healing her. His face flushed into a red tomato as he tried to ignore her and continue healing. She got louder and louder before eventually Broly hit her on the head. "Enough. It's time to get to the tower. We had enough fun for this part of the event. Jabi, have you gotten an Earth Scroll yet?" Broly asked. Jabi nodded and stood himself up. Esumi looked as if she was the victim and also got up completely healed. "Let's go," Broly said as Team 11 started to dash towards the tower and win the second part of the Chunin exams. At the tower, Team 11 was about to reach the tower until they were ambushed by an enemy team. 2 girls and a boy from their village. The girls were twins and each held a katana in their hand. The boy had glasses and held a kunai in his hand. "Give us your scrolls and we'll let you live," the glasses boy said in a thuggish manner. "Yeah, give us your scrolls," the twins said simultaneously. Broly, eager to test his returned power, appeared in front of the twins and kicked his foot in one of the twins' chest, launching her into the forest of death. He flexed his fingers before forming it into a fist. The other twin was enraged and sliced towards Broly in anger. Broly coated his hand in chakra and grabbed the blade. The angered twin put more force into trying to get her blade back until her teammate threw a kunai at Broly, stealing his attention enough to get her blade back. She hopped back and quickly ran towards her twin in worry. The boy with glasses also ran with her. "You can try to run, but know that nothing but pain awaits you at the end," Broly said before appearing in front of the twin once again. The twin and the glasses boy looked at each other before both dashing towards Broly with their weapons. "It seems you aren't completely worthless." The Saiyan grabbed the boy's wrist and swayed his head to the side and grabbed the other twin's head. He raised them up before slamming them both into the ground. He was grinning as he looked at the damage, only to notice that they both turned into shattered logs. He looked towards the direction of where he sent the first twin and saw the boy with his kunai out staring at Broly while the second twin was helping the first one. Broly started to walk away and return towards the tower with Jabi and Esumi. Or so the 3-leaf genin thought. Jabi appeared behind them and disabled them with his chakra scalpel technique in an instant. He cut their muscle tissues and tendons, making them unable to even lift a finger. He then proceeded to knock them all out and plant the water mini clones of Jabi inside their bodies before healing them and dashing off to return to his team. Team 11 has arrived at the tower with both Earth and Heaven scrolls in their possession and went inside the tower. They were greeted by a picture frame that had words on it. The words on the frame formed a riddle for Team 11 to solve. Esumi wanted to cut the picture frame into pieces, but was stopped by Jabi, who suggested she do that after they solve it. The riddle asked something about heaven but was missing words in the sentence. Jabi looked at the riddle in disdain at the simplicity of it. "The stupid scrolls we have are called the Heaven and Earth scrolls. We had to find these dumb scrolls for the entire second part. Of course we have to open the dumb scrolls together to solve the puzzle," Esumi said in irritation. Jabi nodded his head at her sarcastic answer that was completely correct, as he opened both the scrolls at the same time. They saw smoke coming from the scrolls and recognized it as a summoning jutsu. Due to hanging out with Anko during their academy days, they recognized how summoning jutsu look. Jabi quickly threw the scroll in the air high above before he got into a defensive position. It turned out to be that dude Esumi met on the first day of the exams who was blocking the door. Jabi was about to attack until the guy put his hands in a peace sign. "Whoa, you three. Calm down. I was the Chunin sent to meet up with the exam takers who managed to pass the second part of the exam. He explained. He looked at the 3 genin who he expected to either look happy about passing or relieved that it is finally over. But all he got to see was 3 genin with a bored expression on their face. To explain the meaning of this riddle here, he was about to explain until he was interrupted by a high-pitched voice laced with irritation. I don't care about some stupid riddle. Let's get to the next part of the exam already, Esumi yelled. I'm sorry, but it was Hokage's order to explain this riddle to all examinees regardless if they passed or failed. The meaning of the words heaven and earth are in relation to mind and body. If you lack heaven, seek wisdom, and if you lack earth, run in the fields and seek advantages. He explained to the uninterested 3 genin who most likely blocked his voice out as soon as he started explaining. He soon led them to their next location along with the other genin who passed the second part of the Chunin exams also. There were about 9 teams that passed. Team 11 noticed that a large amount of jonin and some Chunin were standing around the Hokage. Even their sensei was standing there up there with his classic annoying smile. Team 11 started to notice some killing intent being thrown their way. They ignored it and continued to watch towards the Hokage. Congrats on passing the second exam. Lord Hokage will now explain the third test. Listen carefully, Anko said. Before I explain the third test, I must tell you something I believe you all should know. It concerns the true reason for this exam. Why do we have all the alliance countries taking the exams together? To promote friendship among the countries. To raise the level of shinobi. No, I don't want you to be confused about the true meaning. This exam is, he takes a dramatic pause and smokes his pipe before continuing. A replacement for war among allied countries. This caused confusion to stir among some of the genin. Team 11 were listening with one ear in and one ear out basically at this point. If you go back in time, the current allies were enemies who fought each other over who would rule. In order to prevent wasteful fighting, the stage that those countries chose for battle, that is the origin of this Chunin selection exam. The Hokage explained. I thought the Chunin exams were just to select genin to become Chunin. A genin said. While it is a fact that this exam decides which shinobis have what it takes to become a Chunin, it also has another side. Each country's shinobis risk their own life to protect their land's prestige. You all will display your country's strength as clear as you possibly can. Yeah, I get that, but why do we have to risk our lives just for some street cred? Another genin asked in disbelief. The strength of a country is the strength of the village. The strength of a village is the strength of the shinobi. And a shinobi's true strength is only born through life-risking battle. The Hokage said gravely. It seems this old man hasn't let peace weaken his mind too far. Broly thought as he somewhat agreed with the Hokage's words. I still think there are plenty of better ways to increase a village strength rather than just through shinobi, and risking their lives. Jabi thought. When are we going to fight already? I'm tired of listening to some stupid speech. I swear the next person to ask a question is getting a kunai to the head. Esumi thought to herself in annoyance. Now let's get to the third exam. From here on out the exams will have a referee. The Hokage said before a man appeared in a puff of smoke. I am Gecko Hayate. Before we get to the third test everyone, I would like that you understand that this is a preliminary for the third test and not actually the third test. This preliminary will decide who gets to participate in the main event. Hayate said before hearing cries of outrage. Why the hell is there a preliminary? Why aren't we going straight to the third exam? A pissed off genin yelled. Yay, what she said. Another genin agreed. It's because the first and second exam were a bit too easy this year and there are too many genin left remaining. Hayate answered. Also, according to the Chunin exam rules we must have a preliminary to reduce the number of participants for the third test. There will be many guests at the third test and if too many genin are left it will take a long time to get through the fights. And time is something we are lacking during the third test. Hayate explained. So anyway, those who are not feeling well or those who felt like quitting after these explanations please come forward now. We will be starting the preliminaries immediately. What? We are starting right now? Kiba yelled. Silence filled the room until a soft-spoken voice said, I'm going to quit. While raising his hand. Some of the genin were shocked that someone actually gave up despite making it this far. You are Yakushi Kabuto from the Leaf, right? You may leave, he said while coughing into his hand lightly. Does anyone else want to retire? I must warn you that the upcoming battles will be individual battling. You may raise your hand based on your own judgment. No one raised their hands and Kabuto left silently. Hayate coughed into his hand before talking again. Now let's begin the preliminaries. This preliminary will consist of one-on-one fighting. You will basically fight as if in a real-life confrontation. Since we have exactly 29 entrants, we will conduct 15 matches and the winners will advance to the third test. There are basically no rules. The fight continues until one of you dies or is knocked out or admits your defeat. If you don't want to die, then quickly surrender. I am the one who decides when the winner is clearly established, and since we don't want too many unnecessary corpses, I'll jump in and stop things. Hayate said. This electronic scoreboard behind me will show the matchups for each battle. Now this is a bit sudden, but let's announce the names of the first two fighters for the starting match of the preliminaries. All the genins looked up at the scoreboard in anticipation, fear, or excitement. The scoreboard started running while flashing through names. Team 11 looked on in excitement for the board to pick them. Esumi and Broly were basically overflowing in battle spirit. Hyuga Jiraiya vs Miyahara Otsune, a brown-haired kunoichi wearing a purple top with mesh shirt underneath and purple shorts, met in the arena with green-haired girl who wore her hair in a ponytail, along with a black jumpsuit that showed off how built she looked. She was quite muscular in comparison to the female Hyuga. The two participants in the first fight are you two. Are you ready? Hayate asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Jiraiya said in a cheerful voice. Ready to pummel this little sunshine. Miyahara said in a tomboyish voice. Alright, everyone else please move to the upper level. Hayate said, causing all the Genin, Jonin, and Chunin to move to the upper levels. Hey Jabi, did you mark these girls too, ya pervert? Esumi asked in a teasing voice. Of course I did. You think I would let a member of one of the most prominent families in Konoha not get marked by me? Jabi said as if he was offended Esumi even suggested such a thing. I bet you're real interested in her body, huh? Esumi said in a louder voice, catching some of the Genin and Jonin's attention. Yes, her body is of utmost interest to me, especially in the way she uses it, Jabi said, causing some of the people around him to whisper while looking at him in disgust. Mostly the women, while some of the men were shocked at the boldness of this fat boy. This slipped over Jabi's head as Esumi was laughing her ass off at her friend. He was annoyed at her laughter but didn't think anything of it as he was too excited for the upcoming match. He will be able to learn the Hyuga clan's famous gentle fist. Maybe he will even be able to tailor it in a way for him to use it without the Byakugan. His excitement showed fiercely with his blue aura faintly glowing around his body. Jabi was the only one who looked at the upcoming battle with interest within Team 11. But he was also the only one really able to gain anything from this battle. Not counting the person who wins the battle. Please begin. Hayate said before watching Miyahara whip out a scroll on her back and summon a large wrecking ball attached to a chain. The wrecking ball was 2 times the size of the owner. Miyahara started to spin around with the steel ball and steel chain, slowly increasing the length every complete spin. Jiraiya activated her Byakugan and started to rush towards Miyahara. Jiraiya easily saw the wrecking ball's trajectory and slipped past the spinning ball of death and then proceeded to jump in the air and dive towards Miyahara with her palm. Miyahara couldn't stop her spinning momentum in time and was palmed in the back. She slid away with a palm print on her back and slightly stunned from the effects of the attack. Jiraiya quickly took advantage of her opponent's circumstance and palmed both of Miyahara's arms, before Miyahara booted Jiraiya in the stomach. Jiraiya flew away ungracefully and rolled quite painfully before she slowed to a stop. "Oi, you got a hard foot," Jiraiya said in a cute voice. "That's not the only hard thing I got you," Miyahara said before she appeared in front of Jiraiya's face with both of her feet diving towards her face. Jiraiya's white featureless eyes widen in surprise. She quickly rolled out the way and let the muscularly built girl crash into the wall. She got up and went back into her clan's taijutsu stance. After the crash, dust rose in agitation from it. Slowly Miyahara walked out of the dust field and locked eyes with Jiraiya. She started to make some hand sign before shouting, "Fire style, Phoenix Fire Jutsu," and blowing high-speed fireballs at Jiraiya. Jiraiya quickly started to dash away while getting closer to Miyahara. Miyahara smirked before throwing a mass amount of shuriken in no discernible direction. Jiraiya with her Byakugan saw through this seemingly random move. Attached to each shuriken was a sharp, nearly invisible ninja wire. She was blocked off from Miyahara momentarily. She didn't have any ninjutsu to get rid of these ninja wires, so she decided to hope for the best and jump over them. She gathered chakra in her feet and blasted off in the air. Unfortunately for Juria, this was exactly what Miyahara was hoping for. Miyahara was already spinning her wrecking ball that was collecting all the shuriken and ninja wire that she threw earlier and set it on fire. She flung her flaming spiky wrecking ball at the midair female kunoichi. Juria screamed before the devastating attack landed. But luckily for her, Miyahara pulled back her attack at the last moment, freeing the girl from a painful and particularly horrifying end. She landed on her feet with the fear of death in the shape of a steel ball still in her eyes. "Surrender, princess. This isn't the only thing I have up my sleeve," Miyahara said in a boastful tone. "I surrender," Juria said. "I'm stopping the fight here." And thus, the winner of the first match, Miyahara Otsune, has passed the prelims. Hayate said. Miyahara's teammates and sensei cheered for her, prompting her to raise her arm in victory and start flexing, causing some of the genin and jonin to laugh. The trio of demons, however, had a different look. Jabi was absolutely upset. The Hyuga girl he marked did absolutely nothing. She only got a few hits in before losing immediately. He was hoping those few hits she landed was enough to research some things about the Hyuga clan's taijutsu. Esumi was interested in taking that metal ball off of her hands if she happened to fight her. Broly didn't really find anything interesting about this match. The electric board starting to speed through the contestants' names once again. Yada Esumi vs Uchibayashi Masazumi. Yes. I'm next. I'm definitely gonna enjoy this battle. Esumi cheered. HMPH. This is gonna be a piece of cake, Uchibayashi said. The two walked into the preliminary arena before stopping a couple feet in front of each other. Now we will begin the second match. Please begin, Hayate said before Uchibayashi immediately dashed towards Esumi. Uchibayashi slung his arm back and sent a punch towards Esumi's face. Great, a brainless one. This should be fun enough to last me until this is over. I hope, Esumi said before dodging in an effortless manner and swiftly kicking Uchibayashi in the gut. Uchibayashi was sent flying towards the other side of the arena. Everyone, including Esumi, widened their eyes in shock. How could such a small girl generate such force in her body? Esumi herself was thinking, how could this guy be so weak and make it this far? She might have to hold back a bit if she wants to have her fun. Uchibayashi, who was currently flying, was confused why he was moving so far away from his opponent and why did his stomach hurt so badly before crashing into the wall. Esumi teched in annoyance and raised her gravity seal to level 8, the same as Jabi's, before walking over to see if this idiot lost before she could satisfy herself. She concentrated her chakra in her hand before waving all the dust away, only to see a dizzy boy walking around unsteadily while going through some hand signs. She only heard the words, "Fire style, Fireball Jutsu," before a stream of fire came from the boy's mouth. Sadly, due to his dazed state, his aim was very off and made it very easy for Esumi to dodge the beam of fire. Esumi grabbed her metal pipe-like sword off of her back and appeared behind Uchibayashi. She smashed her weapon against the back of his leg, crack, causing a rather uncharacteristic shriek to come from the dark and broody-looking boy. His teammates looked in worry and slight anger. His sensei's face grew grim at the brutality this fellow Leaf Nin shown. Esumi on the other hand smiled widely at the sound of the hit. She looked at the boy kneeling on one knee. She heard the words, "I, sir." Esumi's face turned into one of a raging she-demon as she kicked the boy's jaw shut, nearly breaking it in his teeth. "If you even think about saying those words, this will be the last time you ever say anything again," Esumi warned with killing intent that shouldn't be seen on a girl her age. This caused many of the jonin to look seriously at the cruel, small blue-haired genin. How can she have such a high bloodlust at her age? What is her teacher teaching her? How could she treat a fellow member of her village in such a brutal way? Doesn't she have any camaraderie? Very unyouthful display. Esumi walked over to the boy who was shivering in terror and started to wail on him more and more until eventually he looked at Hayate in the eyes, pleading and begging to save him with just his eyes. Esumi stood over the boy with a terrifying smile on her face and swung downward with Basher. Uchibayashi disappeared and a huge crack in the arena's ground formed from Esumi's attack. She was confused on how her punching bag disappeared before she saw him with the referee. "Hey, you sick prick, he didn't say he surrendered. Why did you jump in?" Esumi shouted without restraint. "Like I said earlier, I am the one who decides when the winner is clearly established. Anyway, the winner for the second round, Yada Esumi, has passed the prelims," Hayate said with a light cough. Esumi, clearly displeased at the lack of a great finish, returned back to Aomatsuna and Jabi with a pout on her face. The surrounding genin and jonin looked towards her. She's pretty scary for a leaf shinobi, Tamari said to her brother. At least not all of them are as weak as they look. Kankuro agreed. Violent women are so troublesome, Shikamaru said. I'm not so hungry after seeing that match, Choji said while putting away his chips. She doesn't look so tough, Ino said, slightly unconvinced in herself. Jabi was snickering off to the side at Esumi. Esumi blew up and started to swing at Jabi in anger. Jabi dodged the attacks while still laughing. No fighting in the stands or you both will be disqualified, Hayate interrupted, causing Esumi to place Basher back on her back and look towards Hayate with a glare. He ignored this and coughed as the electric board started to flash through the genin's names once again. Rock Lee vs Uehara Ruka, here I go Guy-sensei, Lee said before flipping off the balcony and landing inside the arena with a stylish entrance. His opponent, however, just walked normally. The green jumpsuit genin met eyes with his female opponent. She wore thick glasses, a lavender jacket, and a black long skirt. Hayate signaled for them to begin and she started to go through hand seals. Lee, however, appeared in front of her instantly and punched towards her chest. This surprised the young Kunoichi and she quickly stopped her jutsu and blocked. She was sent sliding backwards from the force of Lee's punch and her arms felt slightly numb. She tried again to make the jutsu but was once again stopped by Lee. Lee, after knocking her backwards, followed up with a jump kick soaring towards her. Uehara dropped to the floor and rolled over to recover. As Lee recovered from his attack and dashed at Uehara once again, but Uehara finally made the hand signs for the jutsu she was attempting and shouted, "Ninja art, needle trick jutsu," in a very squeaky voice. Lee stopped in his tracks. Suddenly hundreds and thousands of needles started to phase through the ground and ceiling of the arena. They all pointed towards him and suddenly started to bombard him. Lee tried to dodge as many as he could, but there was little place to hide in this wide-opened area arena. He was pierced on all sides, throughout his entire body. He looked towards his meek-looking opponent. He reached out his bandaged hand towards her before suddenly forming it into a fist and having a gust of wind surround his body. His skin started to turn red as if he was heating himself up. His chakra started to flow visible around his body, surrounding him in a blue aura. He shouted, "Gate of opening. Release." And suddenly all the needles that were pierced inside him disappeared and only left the same weak-looking Uehara standing there with panic on her face. "So you trapped me inside a genjutsu. How sad I had to use this technique just to break free from a genjutsu," Lee said before suddenly appearing in front of Uehara. She was about to hop away but Lee punched her in the chest and smashed her in the ground. He returned to his normal form as he awaited Hayate's decision. "The winner for the third round is Rock Lee," Hayate said while coughing into his fist. The medical nin came in to collect Uehara and swiftly left with her on the stretcher. Miyahara looked at Lee with vengeance in her eyes. "I'll make him pay for what he did to my cute teammate," Miyahara shouted. "I did it, Guy-sensei. I made it," Lee cheered before returning to his team. "I wonder what was the technique he used, I need to find out." Jabi murmured to himself. "I don't think looking like a tomato would be a good look for you. You already look like a number of foods already," Esumi laughed. Broly had slight hint of a smile on his lips as well. Yeah, whatever Esumi, you're just jealous of my beautiful handsome body," Jabi stated with clear convictions. This just caused Esumi to burst out laughing even harder and Broly to turn away. The electronic board started to flash through names of the remaining genin. Sakura Haruno vs Shino Aburame, EU. "No way am I fighting against bugs," Sakura screamed. "Come on Sakura-chan, you have to at least try," Naruto said, trying to convince her. "No way," Sakura shouted louder. Hayate dug in his ears with his finger before coughing lightly and saying, "Shino Aburame is the winner for the fourth round." Neji Hyuga vs Dosu Kinuta, the two fighters jumped into the arena. Jabi looked in interest at the branch family Hyuga and the strange sound ninja with the device on his arm. Esumi looked at Neji with a gloating smirk on her face. Broly has had enough of the Hyuga family and is bored with them. Although this world has many interesting abilities, he hasn't seen much of it. Jabi looked at the device on Dosu's arm. He was interested in its effects. Did it shoot out a weapon? Does it need chakra to use? Is it connected to his chakra network? So many questions. Jabi just hoped that he wasn't so weak that the Hyuga boy will beat him instantly. "It is your fate to lose this battle," Neji said calmly. I'll show you fate. Dosu said. Please begin. Hayate said. Dosu stared at Neji. Since you won't come to me, I'll come to you. Neji shouted. Neji ran towards Dosu and pierced towards his chest with his fingers. Dosu blocked with his device and activated his secret technique. Neji's vision got blurry and he started to lose his balance. Dosu took advantage of Neji's moment of weakness and smacked him away with his metal gauntlet on his wrist. This appeared to clear him up. Your tricks won't help you overcome destiny. Neji shouted before throwing some kunai at Dosu. Dosu blocked the kunai with his metal gauntlet and rushed at Neji. Neji lowered his stance slightly further as Dosu came closer. Dosu swung at Neji's unprotected face and was expecting him to dodge completely. But Neji spun forward and tapped Dosu's arm in multiple places. He targeted the arm that held his resonating echo speaker, rendering his weapon ineffective, but then he continued his assault upon the weaponless shinobi. He poked his thighs to make sure he couldn't jump away and continued to poke the sound genin multiple times and in multiple places. By the time he was finished, he ended the onslaught with a double palm circular strike and blasted Dosu away. Dosu soared towards the opposite wall of the arena and fell with an audible thud. Neji looked at the referee to call the match already. Hayate went to check on Dosu before calling the match and declaring Neji the winner of this round. The medical team came out with a stretcher and quickly removed the lost fighter. So you can also use sound as a medium for chakra-based attacks, huh? There is not much chakra can't do if you think about it. Jabi said. I should get me a small instrument and try and use it with chakra. Yeah, I guess. Maybe you can even use syrup as a medium for water chakra, ya nerd. Or freaking booze or something. It'd be real neat, Esumi said sarcastically while rolling her eyes. This caused Jabi to shout in excitement from his friend's brilliance. You, rewrite, how could I have been so blind to the possibilities? Jabi grabbed his female friend in a bear hug and raised her while spinning and hugging her. Ignoring her protests and attacks while her face reddened at suddenly being hugged by him. Get off me, you fat idiot! Esumi yelled before punching him away with her face completely red. Jabi finally sobered up at his bloody nose and apologized to his friend. Broly was humored at their interactions and once again turned around so they didn't see him smile at that. Kiba Inuzuka vs Naruto Uzumaki. Yes. It's my time to shine. Naruto said while jumping down into the arena. Come on Akamaru, let's get this show on the road. Yahoo! Kiba shouted with his dog barking behind him as they dove off the upper level to the arena. Hayate signaled for them to begin. I'll make this easy on you, Naruto. I'll down you in one blow. Kiba said boastfully before getting on all fours and having his body give off chakra on certain parts of his body. His appearance started changing slightly. His canine teeth grew longer, his finger and toenails grew sharper, and his eyes became more wild with his pupils turning into slits. He sped off and elbowed towards Naruto. Naruto started to remember his training in the Forest of Death with Esumi and them. He was forced to fight against the terrifying and huge creatures there without any techniques except the basic academy ninjutsu and taijutsu. He looked at his opponent and tried to compare him to the creatures of the Forest of Death and just couldn't take him seriously. Naruto started to laugh while holding his gut at his incoming opponent. This enraged the dog-like boy and he elbowed Naruto in the stomach. Naruto slid back slightly while still laughing as hard as before. His annoying laughter started to cause murmur in the upper levels. Has Naruto gone crazy? Sakura asks to Sasuke. Who knows? Sasuke replied. He really hasn't changed much from the academy. Shikamaru says with a sigh. That's Naruto for you, Choji agreed. I hope Naruto-kun is alright, Hinata thought worriedly. I'd probably laugh if I had to fight a dog boy too. Esumi said nonchalantly. Naruto isn't ready to become a ninja capable of fighting Kiba if this is how he is. Kurenai said to Kakashi. I'm sure he just thought of a funny joke. Nothing to be worried about. Kakashi responded half-heartedly. Kakashi knew exactly how strong Naruto was from his team's bell test. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The next part will be out soon.